Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. In today's episode is going to be a little bit different. It's going to be really cool as well. Today it's going to be all Doctor Who themed. And we're going to be talking about to Joe and Charlie about Doctor Who. And also I think a fan film that Joe is kind of produced, which we get to hear about that as well, which is going to be really really cool. And yeah, it's going to be cool because we all like Doctor Who. um, so I'm going to get Joe and Shai to ask to introduce themselves in the order that Zoom tells me. So sorry if you're last. If you are last now, you'll be first at the end. I like to do it like that. So Joe, I'm going to start with you. If you wouldn't mind introducing yourself.
Yeah, so hello, I'm Joe, online known as the Confused Adipose. I make lots of Doctor Who videos. It's difficult to sort of categorize exactly what, but yeah, fan films, news videos, and me just rambling about random stuff. And yeah, that's me.
Um, I'm Charlie, and you can find me at like Charlie Joe and 3 Years Younger. That's my band. I'm a musician and like music producer, and I met Joe because I am scoring the fan film that was mentioned. And yeah, I do a lot of musicy stuff outside of that.
Yeah, really really cool, guys. There's two questions I want to ask you both actually. Joe, I want to ask you. You know your name is the Confused Adipose. Is because Adipose? Is that because you like adipose in Doctor Who?
Yeah, so it's a weird story, but basically, back years and years ago, like probably about 9 years ago, I made this YouTube channel where there's a film which you might have heard of called Oz the Great and Powerful. This is going somewhere, I promise. And I made a YouTube channel called Adipose the Great, which was like a combination of Adipose from Doctor Who and the Wizard of Oz the Great and Powerful. And then I realized how, to put it frankly, crap that name sounded. So I don't really know how, but I just brainstormed a bunch of names with adipose in it. And then in around like 2017, I was like, right, I'm changing this to Confused Adipose. And there we are.
There we go. There we go. And I thought that was the perfect moment to show you I have an adipose.
Oh, iconic.
Very cute.
Yeah. But yeah, that's a really good story. Thanks, Joe. And Charlie, it was funny enough. One of the songs you produced was on my Spotify Wrapped.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, you know what? I'm very flattered. Thank
Yeah.
you. Which one was it?
Well, I've got it written down.
Just an echo.
It was the song all space and time, no hope on Gallifrey.
That one. Yeah, yeah. I love that one.
One
I've
is
seen
fantastic.
that one. Oh, thank you. I've seen it creeping up recently on my Spotify, and it's now at the top, and I'm like, I like that one.
Yeah.
Very dramatic.
It's very good. It's very good. It's got, even though it's not long, but that's good because you can listen over it like a loop.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, like whenever I do a podcast, I get bored when after it's done, and I lose concentration. I have to listen to music in the background. So I'll go on YouTube, and if a video I like is watching, sometimes Joe will post Doctor Who news like you do, Joe, and then I'll listen to that sometimes when I'm writing something up, or I'll listen to some Doctor Who music.
Yeah, I'm similar. When I was writing the script for the second Echoes film, I had like the entire soundtrack just playing constantly over and over and over, getting in the zone, and then putting the intense pieces on when I'm trying to write intense bits of the script. And yeah, it's really helpful for that.
I feel very proud. Well, thank you.
Definitely. And when I saw my Spotify Wrapped, it had that exact song in the background playing as well. Because it's really good work there, Charlie, with your music.
Oh, thank you.
So with Doctor Who, I guess are we all like from Crystal Eccleston era starting off, or did any of us start earlier?
I started at Christopher Eccleston, but I kind of went back to it because when I was a kid, I started at David Tennant, but wasn't like that into it because I was too scared of it when I was a kid. And then I circled back round when I was about 12 and suddenly became obsessed with it from Christopher Eccleston onwards.
Okay.
I want to look at your old stuff though, but I haven't.
I'm strangely enough, I'm quite late into Doctor Who. Like my first memory of Doctor Who, my dad had this like classic Dalek keychain from like years ago. And the first clear episode I remember watching is also kind of where the Adipose name came from, is Partners in Crime. But I didn't properly start watching the show until around series 7, which is surprisingly late, seeing as my entire life is now based around Doctor Who. But yeah, I'd say I think it was like, I can't remember which episode, but somewhere in series 7, so around like 2012 time was when I came to the show.
Not a bad time. Not a bad time. I started when Christopher Eccleston. I was 5. I literally my brother tells me about this show called Doctor Who, and I'm saying, "Oh, what are you talking about? What's it about? Is it a doctor in the hospital? I don't want to talk. I don't want to watch that. I don't want to watch that." And he tells me, "Watch this episode, Rose. You'll love it." And then I like it more than him. So it's quite funny, But yeah, I've watched, like, I guess we've all watched it ever since. And then of course, Joe, you probably would have gone back to Christopher Eccleston after you started watching it with the Partners in Crime.
Definitely. I think it was the 50th anniversary year. They kept, because obviously it's big celebrations, they aired all of the older ones, like some from Classic Who as well. And I'd say that was the push that really like drove me into the show, because everywhere I went was Doctor Who, Doctor Who, Doctor Who. Everyone at school was talking about it, and yeah, it all sort of built up. And then I became slightly, some may argue, too obsessed. But yeah,
Yeah.
I don't think anyone would argue that. People are grateful for the obsession. It gives people content.
Yeah. You've got to be obsessed. You can't not be obsessed about Doctor Who.
True.
exactly.
It is true.
Yeah.
I think my family would disagree, but
Yeah.
It's always difficult to explain to people at like family get-togethers, like, what's your job? Well, I make videos. And they're like, oh, what sort of videos? Well, they're kind of about Doctor Who. And then they're like, what, you work for Doctor Who? Not really. They're just sort of me talking at a camera sort of videos. It's strange.
Yeah. Like earlier this year, I went up to Cardiff, and I went to various Doctor Who locations. The Christmas of 2021, I asked for a Riverstone book, her TARDIS diary. So I'd write all the locations I want to go to, and I did it in the space of probably 3-4 days, which is not very a lot of time, because you don't want to spend lots at one location. You want to go to another one. And I did that in Cardiff, and I went there, and it's really interesting, because you go to the location and people tell you all about it years later. So that was really fun.
Yeah, I've been there too. I mean, I didn't go specifically for Doctor Who. At the time, I was doing a taekwondo thing, and then I happened to stop off in Cardiff, and we went to the Doctor Who museum when that was still a thing in Cardiff. And then we just like went to all the places, and I was like, oh, I recognize that. And I was so excited. Yeah,
I was actually able to go into the Sarah Jane's house earlier this year. I wrote a letter. I wrote a letter to the house, and people wonder why. How do I know where it is? Because I found out where it was and everything, and then I was allowed to go in. It told me about all the history, about Sarah Jane, about relations and everything. So
yeah,
it was really fun.
I went to that house like I think it was summer of 2021, and we were a group of us like drove up there to Cardiff, and we were all just like waiting outside the house, trying to resist the urge to go on the driveway and recreate the intro, because it felt mad just actually being there, because it is exactly how you see it in the show, isn't it? It's like it's just, and then you've got like Rani's house across the way, and it's amazing.
Yeah, it's good. It's like I want to go back. I would go back, but I also want to write a letter to other houses in Doctor Who as well. Because there's so many houses locations in Doctor Who.
Yeah.
Like you've got the Donna Noble's house and stuff like that. So which I would have thought they may use the same house. I don't know if they could use it for the 60th if they've changed.
Yeah, I think they're in a different house, because filming pictures here, slight spoilers for the 60th, but we've seen, I think it's sad that I know this, but I think it's called Axminster Road in Cardiff, and there's this big road with like loads of new houses, and we've seen Donna and all of her family like running out of a house into a taxi there. So I'm presuming they've got a new house, a bigger, upgraded house, because Donna won the lottery in her last appearance in the show. So
Right.
it's like maybe she's got a bigger house because of that. I don't know. That's just a
The
theory.
continuity of it. Yeah, that
Yeah,
makes sense.
yeah.
It makes
Oh,
sense. It does
so
definitely
I
make
love that you just knew that off the cuff as well.
Yeah. The amount of times I've said in videos on Axminster Road they were filming this and this.
Yeah. It's all lodged in your brain as just
Yeah.
facts.
And you went to some filming, didn't you, Joe, as well?
Yeah, I did. I took the trip up to Bristol in the summer. I had nothing to do because it was like mid filming Echo's Return, the fan film, and I'd got like 3 spare days. I'd heard from people that apparently they were filming in Bristol. So I just messaged one of my mates and was like, do you want to just get the train to Bristol? So we did, and luckily we got to see David Tennant, Catherine Tate, and it was bizarre seeing them back, just walking around in person. And, yeah, amazing.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like you get to go to all these places. Like I went to Bristol, but a couple of weeks after, they filmed there because I actually wanted to walk where they walked, and I don't like busy places either. So I thought it's best opportunity. But the annoying thing was like not knowing in Bristol because it was because it's not that from Cardiff, and I could have gone. I was on the way, kind of,
Yeah.
and little did I know you get a parking fine for parking if you go through there. So, which wasn't great. But and then you go around because I'm because Bristol's a big place. I go around asking people where is this certain road? Where is this certain road? And then they don't have a clue. No one knows. And then I say, so where's Doctor Who filmed? Oh, it's just around there. I found that funny. Like you don't know where the road is, but you know where Doctor Who was.
Yeah.
Such a big thing. I feel like everyone knows about Doctor Who. Even people who don't watch it, they know the vocabulary of it, and it's strange.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I think the words TARDIS and Dalek are in the English dictionary now because it's become such like a part of British culture. Like because as well, like all the older people, they'll have grown up with it, and their kids will have grown up with it, and then we've grown up with it, and it's sort of like, yeah, it's got this insane like recognition from the public.
It's huge. It's so big, and like I think I met someone the other day who didn't know what it was, and that was the weird thing. It was the idea that someone didn't know what it was, and I was like,
Yeah.
"How?" I mean, she was American, so that was probably the reason. But it was like it hit me in the head, and I was like, "What?"
Yeah. When we were filming Echo's Return, there was this old couple which came up and they were convinced, like we didn't have the heart to tell them they were wrong, but they were convinced that the Cybermen were stormtroopers from Star Wars. And we were just sort of like, yeah, take a photo with the stormtroopers. And I was just dying inside. These are not stormtroopers.
Have you ever had people think that you're filming the real Doctor Who?
Oh, well, funny story. I went down a Facebook rabbit hole of these people that took a picture. I'm not going to spoil it, but Charlie, you know the end scene of the film.
Yeah.
Someone took pictures of us shooting that, and there were a bunch of like old people going like, "Oh my gosh, I can tell my kids that Doctor Who was filmed at the church I used to go to as a kid," and it's like, it's not quite Doctor Who, but obviously I didn't want to say that or do anything because I don't want to spoil the ending of the film. But yeah, if there's any clever people out there, you can probably go and find the end scene of the film somewhere on Facebook.
Oh my god.
Like with locations, did you do it in various different places, Joe, or was it all set quite near?
Yeah, so we did quite a lot of the filming in Coventry because a lot of the actors like are local here, live around there. We did bits in London. We had like one day where we shot by Big Ben because you've got to get the British iconography in there. We did some in Cheltenham, some in Lichfield. I've probably missed out a few other places, but yeah, we went everywhere across the UK for this film because yeah, there's just certain locations that I really wanted to try and get the best we could out of it because the first Echoes film was mostly just in and around Coventry. But yeah, this year I wanted to sort of expand out and go to as many places as possible.
Yeah, I saw the trailer. It is pretty good.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
No, it's pretty good. I haven't seen all of it, but it is actually really, really good.
Thank you.
Yeah, it is good. Like it's a good way to start the year, I think.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to do. I kick off 2023 because it's the 60th anniversary as well. Give everyone their dose of Doctor Who that's missing this festive season.
Definitely, like because we I don't mind not having one like this festive season because we're gonna have a lot coming up within the next like November time and the following years with Russell, so I've got lots to look forward to.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you guys have a preference of like I know like favorite Doctors or do you just like them all?
Oh, I see. I do like a few. Every time I watch either David Tennant, Matt Smith, or Peter Capaldi, I always go, "That's my favorite Doctor." And then I watch the next one, and I'm like, "No, that's my favorite Doctor." So I couldn't tell you, but I do know that I kind of probably became obsessed with Doctor Who sometime around Matt Smith. I was like really into it at that point. I was like, "Oh, the plot lines all kind of fitting together." I thought that was really clever, and that kind of tied me to it.
Yeah, I'd say I was similar back in like before Capaldi. I'd flip-flop between the Doctors, but by mid-series 9, I was adamant that Capaldi is and probably always will be my favorite interpretation of the character. Just the style as well, like you can probably tell in Echo's Return, my costume is very reminiscent of Capaldi with the sunglasses, the coat, and all of that. Yeah, Capaldi.
More like Matt Smith for some reason.
Yeah, I think I find it easier to act like Matt Smith in the films because, as you can see, I flap my hands about constantly anyway. It's the fashion from Capaldi. I used to wear when I was in sixth form. I'd wear the replica Peter Capaldi coats every day, which was slightly tragic, but I felt like the Doctor, so why not?
I am thinking back to the sunglasses now, and that does actually make some sense about the
Oh yeah.
I see it.
I remember in the first film you used to wear sunglasses, so it makes sense. You got something there. For me, I like David Tennant is I guess my David Tennant, Matt Smith are my two. But I guess because I relate to David Tennant quite a lot with what he does. And I'm not like. Everyone says he's overrated because everyone likes him, but I just like him because he was one of my I guess first Doctors. And well, I love Matt Smith as well. I was very sad when David Tennant left, but I love Matt Smith from the off. And with Peter Capaldi, I liked him as he went on. Straight away, it was harder to get used to him in his first episode, but as it went on, I don't think the first series was the best, but after that, it was good. I thought.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people say like Tennant and Smith are overrated, but there is a reason why everyone loves them. Like they're just so iconic.
They are. And they were very like, I don't want to say they were similar Doctors because they weren't. They were like very different, but there was a similarity between the two that was easy to lead from Tennant into Smith, which I didn't feel like leading from Smith into Capaldi was harder. So I can understand why it was a big change to kind of go, oh, I need to get used to this. But then when you did, it was like, oh, this is so cool. You know, it was like darker and kind of, it was more gritty. And I quite liked that. But I know that wasn't everyone's thing. But I personally loved that.
Yeah, it was really good. I like the regeneration of David Tennant as well.
I have conflicting thoughts. This is a slight controversial take. But as much as I love The End of Time and all of that, I do feel like Russell almost puts Stephen Moffat at a disadvantage by writing David Tennant so sad. Like Doctor Who's all about change and acceptance, and maybe we're going to get that with David Tennant coming back to the show, but I feel like his character needed to let go of the whole I don't want to go thing by the end of his tenure.
Yeah, definitely.
I know what you mean. So what do you think about the new thing of him coming back then?
Yeah, see, I really hope his final line is accepting he needs to go, because that would be like a fantastic sort of character journey.
That's so clever as well.
Yeah, I've always thought like they've kind of, the Doctor is always sort of embracing the regeneration, which is why I love Jodie's one, like the recent one, because just going in and being like, I'm going to change, it's sad, but we've got to do it, and then going straight into it, I think that's the character of the Doctor for me, if that
Yeah.
makes sense.
I agree, because like that was a bit sad, like with before David Tennant, but I like you say, I would love him, like at this last line, and say I'm ready to go, I want to go, because yeah, and then it gives it perfect path for Shooty, as the 15th, which like, what are your thoughts on his Shooty's new costume, like his Doctor costume?
I think is very stylish. I love the fluffy jumper, and the long coat is my favorite aspect of any Doctor's costume. Just getting to see them like stride about with it flapping in the wind behind them is fantastic.
Yeah, same. I love the orange too. I'm a big fan of orange, and like just bright colors, like things that almost hit you in the face. Like that is the Doctor. It's just walking in and everyone kind of going, "What?" You know, that's too many colors. I love that, and I think that I'm very excited for his Doctor. I think it's going to be brilliant.
Yeah.
Like I think part of me feels like the orange is kind of like that color, maybe because of that is the Gallifreyan color, possibly. Maybe that's why they picked orange.
Maybe.
Yeah, because he's got, I think, once again, this is showing how deep I look into all this stuff, but on his fingernails, he's got little Gallifrey tattoos, which is like, maybe that is the whole Gallifrey motif. He's got like Gallifreyan insignias on his fingernails and stuff. So yeah, but you're probably right there, leaning into that Gallifrey sort of side of it.
Got like a necklace as well. I don't know what's written on there, but it was I don't know. But for anyone who wants to cosplay him, it's very simple to cosplay Shooty's Doctor. Especially if you've got the 10th Doctor kind of coat. I know it's a little bit different, but they are similar in ways, like his 10th Doctor one, where like the patterns are different. But if you just want a cheap one for now, I think that's your best bet at the moment.
Yeah. I think it's easy to make like the silhouette of it for kids.
Yeah.
Like just put on a long coat, put on a jumper, and you're now the Doctor, which I think, it's what I love about Capaldi's outfit, as I mentioned before. You can sort of just assemble it at home and then make your own kind of cosplay of it, which, I think is always a good option.
Yeah. I like that.
Definitely.
I have to admit, though, Matt Smith's with the bow tie. It was iconic.
Yeah.
That was so iconic.
Yeah.
I think that was my favorite.
But probably one of the most complicated, like, to cosplay, if it, or to get, I guess, for people. But yeah, I love the colours. I guess like with Shooties, I like it because it's very simple. It reminds me a little bit of Christopher Eccleston ways. Like it's just like you've got your maybe coat there, and then you've just got the t-shirt.
Yeah. It's that sort of back to basics look where you could feasibly see this man walking down the road. You'd think that's a bold choice, but you could see him walking down the road.
Yes, and people will.
Yeah.
No, I love it. Exciting. And it really feels like Doctor Who. It just really does. I love it.
Yeah. So Charlie, are you going to be doing the music for the new season of Doctor Who? Yeah.
Yes, Charlie
They
Joe
need to sign her up.
I don't know who started the hashtag Charlie Joe for next composer, but I love you, and I think that is something we should roll with.
We need to get it trending on Twitter.
Yes.
This is the only way. At Russell T Davies.
Yeah, Charlie Joe is writing the new music.
Yeah, like my opinions on the last composer. I didn't mind the music, but I didn't really hear it that much. It was very low. It wasn't loud enough to hear it. Apart from the theme, I didn't really know much else of the music there.
Yeah, I have a lot to say about this. I have to admit, like the last season, because I think Doctor Who, like the new season of Doctor Who, was a huge part of it that people always underestimate, is how important the music was in creating that suspense and that excitement, and even the themes of the different characters and the different doctors and the different everything. You could feel it instantly just from a moment of the music. And you hear a piece of the music and you go, oh, I know that means Clara's about to walk in, or I know that means the 11th Doctor's about to walk in, kind of thing. And I just didn't feel that with the new music. And I don't want to be harsh on anyone else's music, because I know that like it probably would have worked perfectly in a different show, but in this one it was missing the kind of element of romance for me, the kind of the romantic extravagance of Doctor Who. It was missing that for me a little bit. But that is my opinion, and I'm sorry to anybody who hates that opinion. But
I get where you're coming from, because I'd say there are a few tracks from like Sega Nakanola that I absolutely love, where like the 13th Doctor's theme, I think he nailed that.
Yeah.
And like the Cyberman I think is quite good, the Daleks is decent, but I do get what you mean, because like with the companions, if you asked me to say just hum Yaz's theme, does she even have a theme? I don't know. Like it loses exactly what you're saying, like that recognition of, like, let's say there's a moment between like the Doctor and Yaz where they're talking about a romance. There's nothing underscoring it, and it needs that extra bit of heart.
Yeah.
And the really dramatic moments, I felt like they always, one of the reasons I felt like they felt more comedic in Doctor Who, because I feel like dramatic moments are kind of comedic in Doctor Who, is they were too serious in the music. They were like really suspenseful and kind of almost dark in the music, and that probably shaped a part of how people reacted to it. Is they kind of went, oh, this is a dark, scary thing happening right now, instead of, oh, this is kind of slightly funny because it's so dramatic and the Doctor is an unlikely hero, you know?
Yeah, there's that whole like melodrama category that I always feel like Doctor Who kind of needs to fit in. It's like people's reactions, this like classic Doctor Who like what sort of thing, which is so over dramatic. But like I think that's what I love about the show. It's so like camp and ridiculous, and it just throws you into it. It's amazing.
Some of it doesn't even make sense, but you get it because it's Doctor Who, and you know it's allowed to not make sense. Like when he fell out of the spaceship and then fell into a spacesuit and then still alive at the bottom, and like it was fun to watch, you know.
Yeah, it is fun, and like you say, I completely agree with does Yaz have a theme? No, I don't even know the Master has a theme. If it is, it's just really suspenseful music. And like I just feel with Russell and whoever the composer is going to be now. I think if it is Charlie, if it's not,
something I haven't told him.
I wouldn't be surprised if they brought Murray Gold back, but I wouldn't mind another composer as well.
Yeah, I'd like them to go with a fresh style, because I feel like Murray Gold is excellent, but he did it for like however many years. We've heard everything he can give. We need like a new take on it.
I would love a female composer. I mean, I think that would be a huge step for Doctor Who, because one of the things that I noticed is they brought in a female Doctor, which was absolutely incredible, but a lot of the writing and the production team was still very male dominated, and I think music, especially film music, is something that has always been male dominated, and maybe this kind of new take of Doctor Who that's becoming a bit more kind of accepting of different people could be really championing like the production team being more mixed as well. So that's what I would hope to see, but I don't know. I'm very curious to see who ends up composing for it.
Yeah,
it's me. It's not.
I can make a leak video about this new composer.
Charlie Joe is the new composer.
Your next YouTube video should be Charlie is the new composer of Doctor Who, Joe.
Exactly. I'm making the thumbnail as we speak.
I'm down. It could happen.
Yeah, you never know. You never know. Like on Instagram, Russell T Davis liked a lot of people's comments, so write a comment, you might see it.
Exactly. We need to get the Twitter campaign going.
Yeah. Do you know, Joe, if anyone ever sees the films, like the last film and this film? Have people seen it?
Yeah, I don't know how much I want to say like publicly on a podcast, but there are a few people who've seen it. Obviously, well, this is a kind of mini announcement, and nothing's set in stone. But Johnny Mathers, who played Passenger from Doctor Who Flux, he's going to be in the third Echoes film as Passenger, which is pretty exciting because it's obviously someone who's actually been on set on the show. But yeah, that's not set in stone, so people don't get too hyped but Johnny's up for it, hopefully. So yeah, that should be good.
Well, Like, how many films do you plan to do, Joe, of Echoes?
So at the moment it's a trilogy, and I think it will probably stay as like a trilogy because the first one was kind of, it could have been a one-off, but like I always do when I write things, I have these offshoot ideas of what if this character did this and all of that, and I kind of planned out 3 distinct films. So this film ends on quite a cliffhanger, which is going to need a lot of resolving in the third film. And then I think the third film will probably be the final one because, as much as I love doing it, it is very, very time consuming and difficult. And once I leave university, it's going to be near impossible because I'm going to have to try and actually go out there in the business and get an actual job. But yeah, it's probably, hopefully, the third film is going to happen. And yeah, a nice little trilogy.
And is this like a next year or a 2024 thing, or do you think that to be released, or do you think it'll be released later 2023, that third one?
Effort that goes into it, especially Echo's return. There's so many complex scenes, like bits of action, CGI, bits that were missing, and the runtime is longer than the last film. And it's always difficult to try and work out when it's going to come out. Originally, I was hoping October, and now we're like into 2023 almost, and it's coming out then. So who can tell? Not me, but hopefully 2023 or early 2024.
Okay. Yeah, it's good though. Like, I guess it's good to finish on a third film because you don't want to keep on going 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Because I've got as well like distinct. I know where all the characters end up and where their journeys go, and I feel like the worst thing you can do with a film is once a character's journey's complete, just going and they're back for no reason. Like if you bring a character back from the dead or from whatever, they've got to have a vital reason and core character journey to be there. They can't just be randomly placed, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's very cool. Like the first film was really good. I look forward to seeing this one. This episode will be released on the same day it's out, on the 1st of January. So it will be out on the same. So you can spoil anything you like.
Yeah, I'll keep my lips shut for now.
Yeah. Save everyone to watch it. But yeah, I think like with Doctor Who as a whole now, I think it's becoming more diverse. Do you guys think it's being more acceptable, maybe to do different things?
Oh, sorry. Would you mind repeating that question? Because I don't think I quite got that.
Oh, I just said that I think Doctor Who now is becoming more like understanding, and like it opens different paths for different things. Like you've got like different communities as such. Like you had like with Yaz and like you got Yasmin Finney, having a transgender actor. They become more open to different paths.
Yes. Oh, completely. Honestly, I'm so excited for the things to come. And also, that was one of my favorite things about what Chris Chibnall brought to the table with Doctor Who. I really was like amazed by the kind of the acceptance, and like it was great to see lots of different groups being represented. So I'm really, really glad about that. And also the companions for the 60th and the new seasons it's looking so cool. I'm very excited.
Yeah, and I think it's fantastic now as well, because obviously as a white man I'm not 100% qualified to talk on all of this, but I think it is nice to finally see not just another skinny white man who's quirky in the role of the Doctor, and having like other people be able to see themselves and look up to the character, I think is really, really important. Because obviously as a kid, I could always look up and go, oh yes, I could be like Matt Smith and flap my hands around constantly and all of that. And now everyone and anyone can be the Doctor, which is also why, even though it's controversial, I think The Timeless Child was quite a nice idea. The execution of it maybe was a little bit ropey, but I think in principle it's really nice to finally give people these role models that they can look up to.
Yeah,
definitely. And like part of doing this podcast, I don't just like Doctor Who's a hobby of mine, so I like doing as many Doctor Who episodes as I can. But like like the main focus is like autism, for example. A lot of people come here to talk about their autism journeys, and just different things, you know, just accepting things. And I think I found in the Doctor Who world as such, a lot of people who are not autistic or love Doctor Who, and me being autistic myself, I find that quite interesting. That especially on TikTok as well, like a lot of people are in that kind of environment and community who love Doctor Who, and I think that's really rewarding. And seeing other like communities open up in the Doctor Who world, I think that's really good, and it's only going to get better for the future.
Yeah, definitely. Because I think one of the big broad appeals of Doctor Who as well is it's not this typical sort of American dream muscular superhero. It's a show about people that, like anyone really, like the companions are anyone from the modern day. And yeah, you can really relate to it. You don't have to be like a glamorous model and muscular person. I mean, you can be in Doctor Who. There's always like a few people like that, like maybe Ncuti Gatwa's Doctor is, I'd say, probably the most muscular Doctor we've ever had. But it is just like accepting and allowing anyone they want to see themselves in these characters.
Definitely, definitely, and like to a lot of people, like with Matt Smith flapping his hand, and like you know, some doctors don't explain why they are in a crisis, and like so like Matt Smith won't explain, or David Tennant's Doctor won't explain. They'll just hide it to themselves. And one with David Tennant's Doctor, what really opens up to me, and like you know, the Girl on the Fireplace, where after at the end of that episode, where all those events where he lost, like he went back in through the window to see Madame de Pompadour's died, and then Rose asked him, "Are you alright?" And of course, he's not alright. He lies about it, and he does that, and a lot of people do that today. Like a lot of people will hide their feelings, and I think the Doctor just shows that really well.
Yeah.
Yeah, like but yeah, that's actually one of my favorite episodes, Again on the Fireplace. I really like that episode.
Yeah, it is. It's a classic, like well, a new classic.
yeah, I do classic. Yeah, like do you guys have a favorite episode at all?
Oh, that's such a hard question. Ooh. Hang on, give me a second to think about it, and then I will. Wait, hang on.
I've got one lined up if you want to have like a little think.
Yeah.
So probably no surprise because I love Capaldi, but I'd say World Enough and Time and The Doctor Falls, his final, apart from the Twice Upon a Time, his final two, the big two-parter with the classic Cybermen, absolutely love that. I think Capaldi's performance is brilliant. Bill is probably one of my favourite companions, and seeing all of that come together was just exquisite.
I liked it that she got to fly away with that water person at the end.
Yeah.
Oh, I loved Bill. I thought Bill was so underrated, honestly. He's one of my favourites too, and I wish he'd been there for more seasons.
What I would
she
like
deserved
to see
half
happen,
the time Clara had.
Definitely. That's the thing. I would have liked her to stay on in the regeneration process of Capaldi to 13, and it would have been a nice first continuation companion for the 13th Doctor. Just accept her falling through the TARDIS. That would have been a bit hard to explain from a companion. Have to fall over as well. But yeah, I think Clara. Like, what's your opinions on Clara? Because I think she was a bit long, wasn't she?
Oh, you know what? I'll say something that people might a bit controversial. I love Clara to bits. I love her so much. And maybe it's because I relate to her quite a lot. I think that she's got a lot of up-pent anger, and that comes out in her, and a lot of insecurity, and it comes out in her trying to like mimic the Doctor and how she is. And I quite like that representation because I thought it was very different to any of the other companions. It was like her way, and then she got too big for her boots because it kind of and it worked out exactly the way it was always going to work out for anyone trying to be the Doctor who isn't. It's kind of like, don't try this at home. That's the impression I got from Clara. I know she got a lot of screen time, and maybe she got a bit too much because it wasn't fair on like other companions kind of coming in. But I'm protective of Clara. I love her. But also I understand a lot of people aren't as fond. So fair.
Yeah. I don't mind her. I do like her, but I just thought like Capaldi, like I would have been nice to see more time with Bill. I think if Clara wasn't in it as much, like maybe halfway, like we might have been able to see a bit more of Bill. And Bill was only in that one series, and I thought that was actually Peter Capaldi's. My favourite series of Peter Capaldi's actually was the one with Bill, because I love Bill. And I loved when they 13 referenced in that Cybermen episode referenced Bill with the Cybermen. I did like that reference.
Yeah, definitely. I think there is just something about Capaldi and Clara, which the relationship between the two is so complex. It's so sort of messed up, so like deep, and all of these avenues. Obviously, it's like a sci-fi show for families, but it does have this really deeply rooted, like almost love for each other that they can't let go of, and becoming the hybrid in series 9. I really like Clara, but I do feel like Stephen Moffat never knew when to let a companion go. Like with Bill, it was too early. With Clara, it was sort of like, come on, Clara, go on. It's like, you've been here a while. And Amy and Rory, this is controversial, but I cannot, even though I started on series 7, by the end of Amy and Rory's tenure, I just want them to go. Like, they're both fantastic, but it's like, you've done everything you can do, and then they just randomly get divorced, and it's like, what's going on?
Actually.
Yeah, I did get that. I did. Why did divorce now?
Yeah.
I know what you mean. I wish Bill had longer, because I think that she would have been so great. And she had the best chemistry with the Doctor, with Peter Capaldi's Doctor, in my opinion.
I loved it.
They just like, the banter was amazing. I loved it. So I agree in that sense. But yeah.
I think that Clara should have been like Joe says there, like Amy and Roy was there a very long time, and I would have liked Clara to actually spend more time with the 11th Doctor, because I did like what I saw. I did really like Clara and the 11th Doctor together. The story is a bit complicated between them, but it was I liked it, and she wasn't even there a season, I don't think, with Matt Smith. Realistically, not including all those deaths. She was only in a couple episodes.
Yeah. I do think, though, it's like the Victorian version of Clara is my favourite. Even though she's there for one episode, she's so good, and the chemistry between her and Matt Smith is just brilliant. And it's a shame they didn't carry her over, because that is one thing I do really want to see from Doctor Who. I know it's difficult because you need this sort of fish out of water character that the audience can relate to, but give us a companion that's not just from present day Earth. We've there's so many people like that. What about a Victorian barmaid? Like, she could be a good companion.
Yeah, and I think from our next one, it's going to be present day as well. So I think from
present day.
Yeah, I would like that. I would like the same. But like, I know we got a leak of the TARDIS being white, but do you think that, Joe? Do you think that is for the 60th, or do you think that would lead on to Shooty's TARDIS interior there?
I got in slight trouble for that video from the BBC, and I've had to take the video down.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, the video. Well, I didn't. They took it down for me with a very strong warning of "do not do this again," because they're trying to keep very tight-lipped on the new series. So I'm not going to say too much about it for fear of upsetting the BBC. But it is a fantastic control room, and I promise I will never leak it again. Please, I promise.
I had no idea. I have to admit, it didn't get to me, Joe. So clearly, it wasn't up there long enough. Yeah.
They were quite rapid with it.
Entirely, it wouldn't be your fault, because you would have got it from a different source. I would have thought, like, Twitter probably, and like it's not entirely your fault.
This is when we find out Joe was just on set.
I snuck my way on, but I thought it would be all right, because it's sort of, I mean, obviously it hadn't spread too far, but it had gone on Twitter everywhere. And I suppose it's because I'm sort of in a circle of Doctor Who people, but like people like Saris, you might know his YouTube channel. He rang me up going like, "Oh my God, have you seen this?" And then I was instantly on Twitter like, "Oh, I need to do this." And then we all started making videos, and then obviously. And it is completely fair to the BBC, because I wouldn't like my stuff being spoiled, and it does kind of make sense. and in future I'm going to try and not put out big things like that, because people have worked hard on it. So it is fair enough that they were like, right, don't do this again, because people, they want to keep it a secret, and we didn't see the TARDIS properly. It was sort of a cheap little iPhone video, which
like
sort of
art drawing
spoils
or
the
something.
magic of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I understand.
Yeah, like, but speaking about TARDIS, I would love a purple TARDIS for Shooty. I would love a purple TARDIS for him.
Yeah, definitely.
If I had to choose, I like the interior of every TARDIS except from I don't really like 30 Doctor TARDIS. It wasn't my most favourite TARDIS interior, because it looked really small. Like, because it was really dark as well, wasn't it? It looked really small. I like the yellow, but anything else, it just looked really tight. Not the most favourite TARDIS there.
Yeah.
I liked it when it got dramatic, like when something went wrong and then all of the little blobs changed colours. I quite liked that. I thought that was dramatic, but no, I don't know. I think my favourite was probably David Tennant's and Christopher Eccleston's. I like the grunginess of it. What can I say?
But do you think for a TARDIS, do you think, because we've seen it with I think we've seen it with Peter Capaldi, we definitely saw it with Matt's, like that halfway through their kind of tenure as a Doctor, their TARDIS interior changed a little bit. Do you think they should keep it the same, like David Tennant, for the whole time they're the Doctor, or do you think they should change it like they have done with Matt Smith's through their time?
That's a very good question.
Oh, you go first. You go first. I keep hogging.
Oh, I don't know. You go first, because I don't actually know. I'm sort of in two minds. I'll come to a conclusion.
Okay, well, I'll say mine, and then I might change my mind after I hear yours. But I think, in the same way that, like, especially with the Doctors, they're like children and they grow up as they kind of go through the seasons. I feel like the TARDIS is growing up with them, to try and be poetic about it. So I feel like the TARDIS changing is quite nice.
Yeah, I think, I'm sold. I agree with that. Yeah, there's like, I think the thing with Capaldi's, I keep talking about Capaldi, but his console room started quite plain. Then they added the bookshelves, then they added the candles, then they added this and that. And by the end of his tenure, it felt really homely. So I kind of hope they do that again. Same design, but stuff in there.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely, and as well, like, because each Doctor's changes their clothes as well, don't they? The Doctor, like, maybe it goes along with that. They change the TARDIS, and they changes them a little bit as well. So maybe I think I think that could be a thing. But another question, Joe. The last few things before we finish. Do you think the 60th is just going to be about David Tennant, like the Doctor, like David Tennant and Donna, or do you think any other people will be coming back, or maybe other companions as well, or do you think it's just evolved around there?
From what we know, I don't know. Am I allowed to spoil it? This is a spoiler warning for anyone listening to the podcast. From what we know, David Tennant, Catherine Tate, and then you've got the whole Noble family. So you've got Donna's husband, Sean. You've got her kid, Yaz. Well, no, played by Yasmin Finney Rose. You've got Wilfred back, and you've got Sylvia back. You've got all the Donna family, which is quite nice. And there are murmurings of Mel Bush, the classic companion of the Seventh Doctor, her making an appearance. Because when I travelled down to Bristol, we could hear some of the dialogue vaguely, and Tennant leaves the TARDIS going like, "Oh, that Mel, she's brilliant, isn't she?" and all of that. So it's like, what Mel could it be? Probably not Melody Pond. And there are other leaks that suggest Mel's coming back. So I don't know about other Doctors necessarily, because Capaldi said he's not going to do it. Matt Smith is probably busy with Game of Thrones and all of that stuff. But there's definitely going to be other elements coming in. So it's not just a celebration of the Tennant era. We've got classic companions. We've got looks to the future. And a whole host of stuff. And we've got some comic book villains probably coming back, which they've never made their live action appearance. And really, hopefully, this isn't confirmed, but Miriam Margolyes might be playing one of the comic book villains coming into Doctor Who, which is really, really exciting. But I can't wait.
So it's so exciting. Like when all those announcements started, starting with I think David Tennant and Catherine Tate, it's like being like 5 years old again. Like all these Doctor Who announcements all the time. I think it's really cool just to get all these announcements. Because like it just reminds you of like the old days with Doctor Who, doesn't it?
Yeah. I remember it's almost a year ago since the initial rumor of David Tennant is coming back to play the 14th Doctor sort of leaked out, and everyone looked at it and went, yeah, well, that's clickbait rubbish. But here we are a year
I
on.
have to admit, I saw your video and I thought, that's clickbait rubbish.
Yeah. Exactly.
I'm joking. It was a brilliant video, but
Yeah.
I didn't look at it for a second. I was like, "That's not going to happen." And here we are.
Definitely not.
I can't lie. I didn't fully believe it either. I was just sort of like, well, people are saying this, and it sounds like a banging title, so why not? But lo and behold, here we are, and it was actually correct.
My whole family was screaming, and my family doesn't care about Doctor Who other than me. But my entire family was like excited and screaming. So
Yeah, because we've got a few specials, and I imagine they'll be over an hour, like as well, because it wouldn't be the normally 45 minutes we have watched. I would imagine like each special will be. I don't know how they're going to do it. Are they going to do it in 1 week? Are they going to do it in one? I don't. They wouldn't do it in 1 day. Surely not.
Yeah.
Surely not on the 23rd. But it's really cool. Doctor Who's getting so much better. We've got Disney Plus for people around the world as well, so haven't we? So really much things to look forward to. But the one thing, I guess, one of the sad things of 2022 for a lot of us Doctor Who fans is the passing of Bernard Cribbins, because I just want to briefly talk about him because as a Whovian, as us Whovians, I don't really get sad if a celebrity dies unless someone has really big impact. Like Bernard Cribbins. I know he only had a few appearances, but his appearances in Doctor Who were very inspirational, weren't they? Like they were like really impactful.
He really was. I was very sad about that. I saw that and I was like, that's gutting. And especially now we know about the new season as well. Like that's even more sad that like there could have been a chance for a reappearance there too. It's gutting.
Yeah, it's such a shame because I think Bernard Cribbins and like the character of Wilfred he's one of the only Doctor Who characters I've never seen anyone hate. There's no one's ever really said, like, even like Clara, Bill, any companion or anyone gets at least some portion of the internet going, awful, worst person ever, they ruined my life. Whereas Bernard Cribbins never got that. And I think part of that is, yeah, he has such like a fantastic portrayal of the character. And for me as well, I feel like he sums up every single grandparent anyone has ever had perfectly, and encapsulates that in a like fantastic character put in this universe. And yeah, I think he's amazing.
Yeah, I do too. Like I had to have a little break, I guess, from social media when I found out that news, because I got loads of people send me it, and I'm like, I know it's on the news, don't send me it. I know, and I know they just make me more sad. But the good thing is that it's going to be his last thing he's filmed of his life is in Doctor Who. And it shows that he loved as well, and especially with David Tennant, who he worked with as well. And I imagine at the end credits, it will say in memory of Bernard Cribbins. I imagine, which would be a really nice touch, I think as well. But before we go, guys, could you say maybe your favourite quote or a quote that you really like in Doctor Who, just for us to finish the podcast off?
Yeah, mine has to be "We're all stories in the end. Make it a good one." That just sums up how I want to live my life. So,
love that one. Love it.
Yeah. Oh, there's so many to choose from, but I think I'd probably go with, and this might be like everyone says it because you see it all the time on inspirational quotes things, but the whole I can't remember it word for word, but every life is a pile of good things and bad things, and the bad things don't outweigh the good things. And that whole speech from that Van Gogh episode is just, I think it's fantastic, and it perfectly encapsulates, like, I don't want to get too deep, but like the whole sort of meaning of life. Like, things aren't always going to be perfect. You just got to live each day as best as you can. Try and enjoy it while you're here. And yeah, I think that is one of the defining moments of Doctor Who.
I love that. I love both of those quotes. Mine is that like you guys, there's so much, but it's that quote that Bernard Cribbins, like Wilfred said at the end of Journey's End, saying I'll watch over you and everything. Like, I can't remember the words off by heart, but it's just those words there. And yeah, there's so many things about that quote and everything that Wilfred's in, and you know, in the scene in End of Time saying like I'm gonna die and stuff like that. It just relates back to that after what's happened. But yeah, thanks for you guys' quotes. Lastly, Joe, where can everyone find when your new Echoes End comes out? Where can I find it?
So Echoes End, well, Echoes Return, the sequel to Echoes End, will come out on the Confused Adipose YouTube channel. So you can find that by literally just typing into YouTube, Confused Adipose YouTube channel. We've got an Instagram page called Doctor Who Echo. We've got a Twitter page called Doctor Who Echo. All of these things are going to be sending you to the Confused Adipose YouTube channel, where you can find the full film. And yeah, I really hope you enjoy.
Yeah, if you send me a couple of links, I can attach it to the description of the episode as well, Joe. That'd be great. And yeah, Adipose is very confused. Well, to anyone listening and watching in today's episode, it's like a New Year's special episode on New Year's Day, so it airs the same time. I don't know what time like it's the same day to say as Echoes Return, a great fan film by Joe, and I think it's got has it got some of your music in there, Charlie, as well?
Yes, I've done the score for part of the film this time, not as much as last time, but I've still it's featuring the music, and that is out on Spotify and all other places on the Friday before the film comes out. So
go and check out the soundtrack as well, because it is banging. Also, Echoes End soundtrack as well. Get both of them on your Spotify Wrapped next year. That's the challenge, everyone at home. But the music is, especially for this film, the end song, the title of it escapes me, but it is, brilliant. And you've got a lot to look forward to, people.
Definitely, I love that, and I might have a different song on my Spotify Wrapped this year, from you, Charlie, maybe. But I don't know. I just listened to it really constantly. I did after I watched the film. But lastly, to like for you guys, there will be opportunities like in the future if you want to come back. There'll be stuff about the 60th anniversary next year, doing a little series for that. So if you do want to return and meet other people, I guess you're more than welcome to.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
And thank you for having us.
Definitely.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you. And Joe, if you need me for your third film, I'm more happy to send you a video.
Perfect.
Definitely.
You're hired.
Yeah. Thank you. Well, thanks, Charlie and Joe. Thanks everyone listening and watching, and Happy New Year, and have a good rest of the evening, guys. And thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.